We're here today with Nicole Amato, designer of Resistor and Lazer Ryderz.
Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is
Hortative, giving exhortation, serving to advise or warn. So before we say anything, I can't read it because I'm reading my phone and I dropped it at PAX and the whole screen is like shattered.
Oh, no.
So I couldn't read the word serving. I thought it said seeing to advise or warn. So it's giving exhortation, serving to advise or warn. So what do you have for this? It's a brief definition.
So I didn't know what exhortation meant, so I looked it up.
I couldn't even say it, so I have no idea what it means.
Yeah, it means to urge or encourage.
Okay.
So I really liked that version of the definition, and what I wrote down in my notes was that I liked the idea of using that concept in like a social deduction game where you're trying to find out the roles of other players, but how could you enthusiastically encourage them to give you clues?
Yeah, really.
Like a feel-good game.
Like, yeah, just come on, help me out here, you know? Give me something.
Right.
We just...
Like Spyfall, but like friendly.
That's interesting. Friendly Spyfall, because we've played some very cutthroat Spyfall.
Oh god, Cutthroat is so unfriendly.
Oh, you're right. We talked...
Spyfall's yeah.
Is there a Disney Spyfall, or am I thinking of the right thing? I know there's Disney code names.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I thought there was like a new like licensed Spyfall coming out. But we talked with, it was Mike Mullins last weekend, and I don't remember what his word was because there's a word every day. But his was it wasn't asking your neighbor to give you clues, but it was in like a battle game asking your neighbor to allow you to level up. Like you're not allowed to level up unless you ask your opponent. And your opponent like allows that to happen, and they get something from it. And we even talked about God tier, which you helped out with. We talked about the prospect endurance points and things like that. But it was a cool idea of just would you let your opponent level up? If you got these like positive points out of it and things like that.
Right. Oh man, that game was so fun.
I know. I'm waiting for status forever. But we have it. We can play it. That's always cool.
So I had some other notes. I don't know if you want me to keep
just go ahead.
going. Okay. So for advise or warn, I said, what about a game where there's like you have 4 players and only one person is correct and the other 3 players aren't correct. So you encourage or warn them based on what you want them to do, like whether you want them to succeed or fail. So it's like Balderdash, but like mixed with like
a traitor mechanic. Like
yes, exactly. Yeah. We're like so I think how I thought about it in my head, because what I wrote doesn't make any sense. So I think it's like one person knows the right direction you need to go. Like if it's like you're going on like an adventure, but the other 3 players don't. But everybody has some sort of clue. I don't know. My notes don't make any sense.
No, no, that makes sense. My notes never make any sense either, and it just reminds me of like how all the party games now have like the trader mechanic, or like that's like the cool thing is Pictionary but with a trader mechanic, and
right.
And I in my notebook had exactly that, Pictionary with a trader mechanic, and then like 5 games came out, and I was like, this is the greatest idea I've ever had, and then I just never did anything with it.
Like what's that game? Fake Artist Goes to New York.
Exactly. Yep. That's one of, but there's like 2 more now too, and I don't know what they are.
I also said, what about a game where you play as gods, giving portents or omens to your people?
I thought you were going to say God tier. Giving importance to your people, that's cool. I think I always think of that as like the step back and play as gods. Like that's one of the... I was listening to what was it? Isaac was on Ludology, and they were talking about design patterns versus mechanics, which I never knew anything about. But patterns are like these kind of like overarching like tropes, I guess, then the mechanics kind of make the patterns. But they were talking about the ones that you get stuck in, and I get stuck in like stepping back in the players are gods. That's something I always kind of lean on.
Right.
I don't know where it comes from, but it's kind of just like we got this little picture and we're kind of overseeing everything.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I mean, it's a cool concept. It works like often in like video games, but like you don't often see it, I feel like, in board games.
Yeah, I think of it as like the players are little pawns and there's this like, I don't know, this big bubble hockey dome over everything. I have no idea. Oh, so speaking of God tier, this is another thing that has nothing to do with anything, but I saw on Board Game Geek there's a game coming out called God tier, but it's it's TEAR. And I was trying to see if it was God tear or God tier, but it's definitely like the tiers of the gods.
Oh Lord.
And I was just like, no, should I email them? You know?
You should definitely email them.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news.
She's like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. That's cool. Did you have any other notes on it?
Nope, that was the last note I had for that word.
So one thing that we should mention is just how we know each other, which is an interesting thing that a lot of people come up to me and they're just like, oh, do you know Nicole Klein? For whatever reason.
Right.
Last one, I don't know if it was at PAX or if it was at Unplugged or just somewhere where it was just like, maybe it was talking about, was it Centipede? Was that the one that you did for?
Yeah, with IDW, yeah.
It might have been Centipede. It might have been something else, but they were just like, or even just talking about the show or just who we should have for guests or anything. There's like, do you know Nicole Klein? And I'm like, we went to high school together. We were in the same class. So that's one of those things that we were both in the same high school class, graduated the same year from the same town, both won the Iron Design Challenge.
And the Philly Geek Awards.
And the Philly Geek Awards, yeah. So
yeah.
If anybody says, do I know you? I could just be like, no. Or I could be like, yeah, I do, and here's the list.
Yeah, it's funny because our 20-year high school reunion happened.
And I didn't go. I know you went, but I didn't go.
I was going to ask you if you were going to go. It was really entertaining.
Was it really?
Yeah, because it was like, because it's like a bunch of people I'm friends with on Facebook. So I'm like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in like 10 seconds since Facebook, and like, it was the first time I met people's significant others, which was weird because I recognized them. And like, Chris Croce was there, who fell off the face of the earth in 1997. And that was like, he got super drunk and was really awkward and it was funny.
So my full disclosure is that I skipped my 20-year high school reunion to play board games. We had a game night and I came up with so many excuses for every single person that asked me if I was going to come. And it was just like, I had a couple new games that I really wanted to play and we played them.
That's totally fine. I went to the bar afterwards and there was a yelling fight and it was amazing. I was just like, this is just like high school.
This is our town. This is
our town. It feels this everything is the same. I was just like, I shouldn't be so obviously like laughing about it, but I was just like, oh man.
Wow.
This is so good.
And I really said that the 20-year might be the one to go to. Like I discussed this and I said, I think if you go to one, it's the 20. Because I didn't go to the last one or the last 10 or whatever.
I didn't go to any of them. This was the only one I went to.
Yeah, and I was like, I think if you go to one, it's a 20. And then I was just like, but I just bought Bunny Kingdom, so I think I want to play it.
That's totally fair. Totally fair. I spent most of the time with Holly Flegel, Chris Croce, Karen Williams, Rachel Lewis, Megan Nettleman, like that little crew.
So to the listeners, that was a lot of the band crew. I played. Did you play any instruments in school or anything?
No, I played like the flute in elementary school, and I was like one of those kids who just could not get up early, so I didn't do band in high school. Yeah. I was like first period. That sounds awful.
That was the band geek crew. I think we were all in marching band together. So I'm trying to think. Those are the big things that I wish I knew why that person came up to me and asked me if I knew who you were. I think it was just it was just like suggesting like people from the area maybe or something along those
Sure.
lines.
I mean, that makes sense. And also it's weird because like I feel like I still go to events and meet people and they're like, oh, I'm from Philly. And I'm like, how have I not like met you before?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many people that are just like, oh, I'm from Philly. And people come up to me at PAX and they're like, oh, I'm from Philly. And I don't even understand it. I'm just like, why haven't we played a game together at some point?
Yeah.
It's probably because I never get out and play games, but but you think we'd bump into each other at least.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Cool. So tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, follow you, and about your games or anything that you got coming up.
Probably the best way would be on Twitter, which is at CB4. Our company is called Cardboard Fortress Games. I would say go to our website, but oh my god, I don't remember the last time I updated our website. So maybe just never do.
Why is that so difficult? I mean, I'm the same way.
I don't know, because it gets to the point where I'm like, oh no, I haven't updated it in like 4 months, and if I update one thing, I have to update all the things, and I'm like, can't you just do one thing? But no.
Cool. So CB4 and don't go to the website. All right. Well, we'll do this again. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.